Yo.
Who goeth there?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Sue's confections, ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke boys, ooh, we run the city. Homie tryna keep up, ooh, they gon' broke. I'll finish your career, ooh, get a rope.
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money, ooh,
That Montega.
in the spot, getting guap.
That's hard labor.
In the club, popping bottles.
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
Hand for the real niggas.
Rest of these niggas cowards.
How you want it?
How you want it?
Hands gun or the knife.
Soon as your man see the barrel,
He gon' run for his life.
bullets flying.
Bullets flying.
Right. How do you pop the hood?
Welcome back, y'all. Repeating that.
Button that has hood on it. No crap.
We got a special guest today. Right.
What's up, dudes? I'm back.
We got the here.
No, those are Toyota parts. Those
We
are
got
Toyota parts.
the one and only, the Dark Lord Wind. And there I am. Once again, joining you as your host.
Your mother and father-in-law are idiots.
We're going to, what's that with?
Your mother and stepbrother-in-law are idiots. Yo, how y'all doing today?
Okay,
Can
yeah,
y'all hear
what's
me?
up? Let's get into,
Wayne Charlie.
so tribalism and Darth Vader.
Well, tribalism. Well,
So I think we should just go right into it.
Well, let's jump right
Good.
in. Wynn's got something to say. Let's go.
Go with
so tribalism, right? See, all the black people in the black community like to be is basically a part of tribalism. That's basically tribalism in a nutshell. The black community, flat out. You know, community. And I'm gonna tell you why they're tribal. Why they basically focus on tribalism. They focus on tribalism because, for one, why is it that the collective narrative of the black community is basically not to uplift your children to become better, but to basically sell drugs? Why? Because it's glorified, and it's not even tribalism within the neighborhood as well. It's tribalism in the media. They basically so quote unquote woke that they listen to these artists. Oh yeah. And most of them artists ain't never busted a grape. They ain't never had a food fight in their life in the cafeteria. You're gonna tell me that you're woke, and I should do all this for the community. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think tribalism has a lot to do with obscurity. Like, you have to be kind of modeled out. Parts of the truth have to be like reinterpreted as oral tradition. You could have like a lot of the conflict that arises from tribalism has to do with the unknown, not knowing what's out there. But they're kind of like BBC and man to push them to the corner.
Is that me or you lagging?
That's him. I was getting ready to just pipe up and say your mic is cutting in and out a lot.
Oh, okay.
But
All right. How's that sound? Dang it.
a lot better.
Is that better? There you go. Yeah, what you said was you were talking about the black community, and I was just talking about there's all kinds of tribes. There's troll tribes. You know, there's like anti-women tribes. You know, there's comedian tribes, or there's
Right.
like
Well, yeah, you're blowing tribalism way out of the proportion. in all technicality, the black community isn't tribalism. It's basically dysfunction. The black community is dysfunction, basically. So you can't call them tribalism when they're dysfunction. Tribalism would be something like, I don't know, the Hasidic Jews are tribal.
Right.
Arabs are pretty tribal. If you ever go to like a Latin community, do you notice that they live around each other and other Latin-speaking people? That's tribal on a lower level or a basic level. It's not as tribal as the Hasidic Jews or like Native Americans or Bree or people like that.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like case in point, Nigerians. Nigerians are pretty tribal, but African Americans not so much.
No, they're not. A good distinct difference between those is there's no censorship in tribalism. But like in the black community, you have people you call Uncle Tom, or you have people who get called they're conservative, they're white supremacists or something, and that's just a clear example of dysfunction being promoted by the media in the mainstream.
No, but not only by the media, but by themselves. By themselves. It's not just by the media, it's by themselves as well.
Yeah, I thought that a good example of this was of dysfunction, not really tribalism, was that whole January 6th thing that everyone turned into a big deal. It was they tried to say that it was about something like authentically American, but it really just matched the French Revolution, like it just like to a T, like them storming the Bastille. That's basically what it was more like.
History is told by the victors.
Yeah, you can look at the State of the Union that recently happened. I mean, look at the fact that Mr. Dementia Man himself, a lot of the stuff that came out of his mouth was basically Donald Trump's platform, and yet when Donald Trump said these things, he was literally Hitler and this and that and the other thing. But when it comes out of Dementia Man's mouth, they give him a standing ovation. I think that could be an example of not only stupidity but tribalism in a way.
Yeah, I think that Tico was talking about, I guess, like a original definition, and then that's our modern definition, where it's like it's a little bit more complicated because we're trying to relate it to things that we know. Whereas, like I was saying earlier, like the tribalism of like a village, for example, is not trying to clearly define things the way cancel culture or the way anti-cancel culture is. It's like, this is free speech and this isn't. What tribalism seeks to do is like, okay, there really is like, there's hardly a good use for free speech depending on your circumstances. And what's more important is like some form of tradition or some form of like honor or respect that needs to, like a transaction of respect or something that needs to happen before you like take into account all of our little sensibilities and stuff about like modern humans, like politics and religions and all that stuff. I think that what's funny to me is the whole race debate that you see that happens because of just like, I guess, like technology. It's like the race debate that pops up, it seems so unnecessary, but it's being taken up by the side that has really, if you go back, like for black people, for example, if you go back in generations, like a few generations back, they're still all speaking the same language. Whereas if you go back a few generations, for some like white people or on the conservative side, they're immigrants from a different country. Like they're speaking a completely different language. So it's like, it's kind of like weird when they have this anti sentiment when really like they're like new to the party almost. if that makes sense. Like they're really just recently benefiting from being American citizens, and they're trying to tell, I guess, black people whose families have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years more, like what exactly they should be doing and where how they should work and where they should go to get stuff or to get
First and
what they
foremost,
want.
they were disheartened. They were disheartened. They were disheartened by their own relatives. You know, yeah, many of them were disheartened by their own relatives. You know, after migrating from Okeechobee, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and many other places, they began and basically moved to a city, and they didn't build it back. They didn't build anything. And after being told, after their wives or wife mothers being told that they can get free money if they kick out the house, they after that it was all done.
Oh, that was bad, Robo. I sort of made out what
I get what. If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about what Lyndon B. Johnson did when he basically made it to where black women could get a check if they kick out their man.
Yes, yeah. It's like after that, it's like it just went all downhill from there, and it's just basically all they had to do was just basically put these abortion clinics within walking distance or transit or biking distance from their neighborhood, and move all the freaking adoption clinics over to the suburbs.
And all of these things that you listed off they're destroying one form of tribalism, and they're actually creating another. If you think about it,
that's all it was. Is basically
a new one's being born from the. And that's why I think we need this language. Just us in this transitionary period. We're in such desperate need of language because we're pretty much committing a cyclical pattern, and so it really makes we need the old tribalism in order to shame in order to bring a new tribalism into effect. That's why it's a fad of going through and accusing all these behaviors of being tribalistic behaviors, when really it's more just it's like a new modern. Wind, you're roboting.
Damn, that's real bad roboting.
Wind, fix your mic. Wind, fix your mic, man.
Maybe you need better signal or something.
I am in a farmland, so can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you much better now. Wherever you are,
stay
there.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me now?
Yep, Liam and Charlie now.
If anything, let me know when I'm roboting. I'll mute my mic and wait for a few seconds.
You're good.
If anything, it's negative tribalism. You know, it's negative tribalism designed to destroy any positivity of that tribal, of the previous. It's meant to replace any positivity with negativity. You know?
Can I throw in a definition?
Of what? Yeah, Robo Yoda Goat.
Well, am I roboting as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dang it.
It's these dang sensors. They're shadow banding us. Sorry,
must be.
I'm just in a horrible area.
All right. Well, I'll talk slower then. Definition, right, of tribalism. 1, tribal consciousness and loyalty, especially exaltation of the tribe above other groups. So here we'll have putting other groups down and having superiority and conflict amongst tribes. So in a sense, if you're going to have one tribe, you're going to have multiple tribes. And number 2, a strong in-group loyalty. And then further down, neo-tribalism, also known as modern tribalism or neo-tribalism, is a sociological concept which postulates that human beings have evolved to live in tribal society as opposed to mass society, and thus will naturally form social networks constituting new tribes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about that, I think when you take into consideration the way that social influencers, social media influencers, the way that they build support is they kind of like recycle new tribes. So they will, and they get a lot of flack for this too. Like you have really good examples of people who they used to make child content or cartoon content and stuff. Then they switched to now they're making adult content because there's more of a draw for it. So they're trying to say like, oh, our audience grew up. Or
Yeah.
people who move from the red pill to the blue pill, or they move from programming to bulldog mind, the bulldog mindset. They went from dating to entrepreneurship advice. It's just like I can see that's being there's no attachment to a original family consciousness, which is like you can see that in content creators that are authentic. You can say that like no matter what they tie themselves to brotherhood or whatever their interpretation of it is, but they don't sell out and they try not to like make any sacrifices or change who they are originally. Whereas neo-tribalism or the new version, or like the whoever is trying to dominate the tribe, they sometimes have to like reinvent themselves and constantly sacrifice. And they always talk about their critics as though they're a lower tribe, or if their viewpoint represents a smaller tribe, they kind of have that in-group preference.
The way it's kind of sounded, it reminds me a little bit of cults, maybe without so much of a figurehead leader and a religious undertone, but it just seems to have a little overlapping.
Yeah, I think that's definitely that's definitely working in our minds. Especially with regards to the news. I know it's like seems like more connecting. There's better connections, but the news is one cult thing that unites us all. It's just that fear that's up all the time, all night, that you can always have access to, and you get to learn exactly what's happening out in the world that's horrible. So it kind of like it just inspires this like fear cult that moves. I feel like it's one of the strongest that exist out there is that cult of fear.
I think what might unify them, and along with general sort of crowd psychology and groupies, small communities, are these baseline core values, which is what kind of cements them together. So as long as they've got like a prime directive, they can kind of function to a certain degree.
Yeah, comfort, acceptance, money.
Loss of individualism, for example, would be a key factor in having a group harmoniously merge together, in synchronized,
Sure. There's really a lot of impressionable people. Like you can see it with example like certain restaurants, the way that they'll charge extra for charity. It always seems to get people to donate, or like they're like, as long as you add a charitable component to your business, it's always like a positive thing, kind of, because there's a message behind the business model.
It basically,
and it's like they're robbing people right up in front of their faces now.
Yeah, it's guilt.
Yeah.
Trip. Yeah, that's all that is.
Sorry, Wind, I didn't read that. What were you gonna say?
It's basically putting where companies charge more for a donation, like for the American Heart Association or the Children's Hospital or St. Jude's Children's Hospital, some crap like that. It's basically playing at your heartstrings so that you can give them some money.
So I mean, yeah. So we definitely defined it, and I think to expand more on tribalism, I guess it'd be like, what exactly do we see as like a problem of tribalism? Because for me, when you think about the collective consciousness, it's kind of automatically follows a philosophy that's good for the group of people. Therefore, if it's like cancel culture, for example, if you look at through the tribalism lens, it's good because it helps weed out people who are like outcast. It outcasts people from society, but it does it in a way that's like appropriate, it would seem. But in terms of freedom of speech and stuff, if anybody comes from an outside perspective, or if somebody doesn't agree with the tribe, they're just immediately cast out. Is
Well,
that good or bad?
there a lot of times when we talk about tribalism, we're usually looking at the negative aspects of it, to be quite honest with you. And I think we should cover also the positive aspects. Like you said, a tribe might weed out someone who doesn't belong there. And I wish to a degree that would happen more when it comes to red pill, because the sheer amount of grifters that come into the space, that invade this space. But the problem is they come in here and they manage to get their roots in, and they create their own sort of tribe, tribalism themselves, and that makes them a little bit harder to root out, because everyone who can see them for what they are is trying to say, hey, fuck this guy, get rid of him, and then his little crew is defending him, and it just becomes an issue.
Yeah, good point, Rifle. But it's kind of funny because you were saying like, let's cover the positives, and then you kind of slip back into the negative.
Yeah, I know, I did.
But it's a good point.
But would you not see that as a positive though? Getting rid of
that's what I mean. Definitely.
One of the ways to get rid of some of these grifters is basically to be 1 step or 1 to 5 steps ahead of them, and basically, if you know what they're going to do, how they're going to affect a person's mentality, how they're going to affect a person's way of thinking, or what they're going to do 5 steps ahead, you can basically say this is, hey, look, you don't have to take my word for it. You could basically say, hey, this is what's going to happen. You listen to this guy. This is going to happen to you. This, and this. You don't have to take my advice. You don't have to take my word for it. But at least watch out for the signs. If you can tell me to take my advice and shove it, or you can basically take my advice and put it in the back of your head. You get more, like I said, this is saying is like, you get more bees with honey than crap. You have to be at least 2 to 5 steps ahead of them. Because if you are able to predict what they're going to do, and basically spread out what it is that they're going to do, and some of those people see what they're doing, because you basically called it out.
Enough.
That takes their power.
Yes, that's true. Well, aside from like cleaning out your own community, do you guys think that there are any other positives to tribalism?
Well, yeah. For people who are feeling like isolated, alone, vulnerable, scared, then being part of a tribe.
Applying that the modesty of tribalism is good for people who feel like they can connect to the tribe. It's like you don't have to be an individual. You don't have to be on top of a heap of resources.
Post Kebab, with all due respect, this is kind of a closed panel with a certain amount, with a set amount of people. This is a closed panel. I mean, I apologize. I can get you on Friday live stream, but this is a closed panel. Sorry.
We're good. I think we were going with Billy. You were gonna say something?
So it just well, the stuff that you'd kind of expect. So you get safety numbers, social support, emotional support from other members. You get a sense of belonging. It can help build your self-esteem because maybe on your own you don't have one.
You don't.
The benefits are so centralized around a cult itself or a tribe itself that it's very hard to figure out what the positive effects are of it if you're not in the group. And there's also the component of the paradox of open-mindedness that comes with joining into a group of select people. Like in order to work with people, you kind of have to be open-minded. But this is an emotional, visceral reaction that draws us to cults and cult-like behavior. Now, like cult-like behavior is kind of a thing that, like what Infamous, I guess, is trying to get at, that you can write off as a generational tick or a generational trait that some harmless individual might have that then could be exploited by somebody else.
Well, you're right, yeah. So with a cult, there'll be generally like an undertone of manipulation and abusive and exploitation going on. Whereas with a tribe or a community, that shouldn't really be part of the formula.
I mean,
so the original idea of a tribe is what Rifle's saying. It's not really meant to be about negative aspects. It's meant to be a positive thing. It's good to be in a tribe.
Right. I mean, a tribe, you think, well, with slang, for example, in like a dysfunctional society, slang is something that obscures somebody who learned a formal language from understanding like colloquial things, like things that are normally spoken in public. Whereas in a tribe, they have multiple names for one another or certain things to bring more meaning to the existence that surrounds them. Like the power of the language in a tribal setting is much more, it's not only efficient, but it's more rewarding. Whereas like in this neo-tribalism, we have so many different examples of things to, I guess, stifle speech or cancel one another over, that as language expands, it just becomes more restrictive. And we're actually all participating in the cult when we like use certain, like I can only really put it in terms of like joke, like a joke, going for the low-hanging fruit, or when it comes to art, copying off of someone else or copying another style instead of creating our own style. And I think a lot of that is because is like lived trauma too. Another thing of tribalism is what I was talking about is modesty, where it's just in a tribalistic setting, there's places depending on your status that are just closed off from your consciousness. I mean, it may be things that everyone around you understands, but you don't really understand it until you're ready. You don't have to understand it or comprehend it. Imagine following, like, as a young kid, like a star on YouTube that you really look up to, that then turns on a dime and starts doing like X-rated content. It's almost like you're thrown out of that tribal setting and you're thrown into like this whole Pocahontas thing, or like Dances with Wolves, or like Little Rock, the Little Rock Nine situation. It's just such a huge cultural shock, and in a really bad way, that it would just, I can imagine it would just screw your head up. And yeah, it's just, I mean, there's so many different, and the thing about tribes too is that there's so many different ways of defining yourself that you could, like, you can decide whether or not a specific solution is good, and there's a tribe already out there for you, or there's a cult already out there waiting to exploit that desire inside of you. I don't know how much you guys are, like, have been following the Jordan Peterson thing, or his situation, but it's just like it's crazy how so many people followed him, and then now he's just he's like the tribal leader, but he's like no longer able to deliver his sermons and stuff. Roboting Wind, you're roboting. Fix your audio, Wind. Please fix it. It's still bad. But
can y'all hear?
Yes, we can.
So basically, he was removed from the tribal position, to tribal leader position. The thing is it happens all the time. It happens a lot in a lot of tribes. Either A, because they do something nefarious that the rest of the tribe doesn't approve of, or they step down. You know.
Well, I think we've regressed so much to where there isn't a time, like whoever makes it to the top is there. Like there's no we can't, we've reached such a level of debauchery that there's no ruler that is too dirty for us at this point, or too underhanded, or too much of an actor, or it really I just feel like it doesn't matter. Yeah.
There are no clean rulers. There are no clean rulers. There are no honest rulers. There are no honorable rulers, honorable leaders, so to say. You know?
Right. And honesty is a luxury, I think, that is like afforded to people who can call themselves free thinkers, or who at least have been inoculated the idea that you can be a free thinker, and that is somehow related to the amount of resources that you can throw at things around you in order to acquire more free thinking skills. And it's almost like it's becoming a commodity. You know, like it's because we don't really have I guess TikTok and stuff is replacing our oral tradition in a way, like they're just short knowledge and quippy information and all this stuff. It's kind of just reprogramming us to not desire like tangible things.
There's a way to combat it, and it's basically making new traditions. You know, you have to basically, in order to keep up with the problem, in order to basically combat the destruction of your traditions as a culture, as a tribe, you have to basically make traditions. You know, sometimes you got to do it with some old traditions to basically make new traditions. It's called finding a balance. A lot of people have not found that balance yet.
I think there's an element.
Yeah, podcasting is like a routine, like a tradition type of thing. It's like these thousands of episodes, hours and hours and hours of things done consistently. It almost represents a form of, or a medium in which to enact traditions.
I believe for any tradition to last and have longevity, along with that tradition, beliefs and the structure of the tribe itself, all these different things, they all undertake the test of time. So there's
I gotta go for a bit. I'm getting ready to have some dinner.
Okay, enjoy your meal, Wind.
I'll be back.
By the way, what's up, Jay McIntosh, D-Man, Post Bob, everybody in the chat. Thanks for listening. And Shinobi One.
Yeah, everyone in the chat. Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen. Yeah, for any of this stuff to sort of survive, it needs to be put up against the test of time. And so you were talking about honesty being a currency or a commodity, and I think maybe it's not honesty that's the commodity, but rather it's fear, because we're not in short supply of that. People seem to really like having fear. It's the honesty that although they say they want honesty, in a sort of twisted paradigm kind of way, they're actually adverse to it. They don't really want honesty. Not a lot of people do.
So it's like, I guess that's the gravity. Like the honest truth is the thing that that's like
what they want
keeps everything together.
What they want is they want a sweeter lie. So they'll say it's my truth, and they'll say it's the truth, and this is the truth of all truths. But really, it's a selective form of truth. It's basically that they've taken the bits they like and want to sort of add to their arsenal or whatever, to their set of belief. But it's not. It might not necessarily be the actual truth.
The simple way to put it is they want to take the blue pill.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and it's like I think it's like a tribesman or a person that is in Stone Age technology, putting them into a high tech place. Like, what's the one thing that they're going to desire? They're going to desire like comfort. They're going to desire for things to be explained to them.
And that's what the blue pill provides. It provides the comfort and the safety, because they're in a paradise, delusional la la land, where everything is bliss and perfection, idolized.
Yeah.
And this is where they want to, and that is from a result of fear, because they're fearing that not to be true, or that not to be the case. So
I think the majority of progress,
delusion.
The majority of progress, I think when you boil it down, is all virtual. And I think there's like people who chase after a certain thing in this experience are kind of like just playing a video game, almost like achieving new like higher and higher levels of like rewards, until there's like no, then it's like kind of like an end game, or now they're just like grinding out more achievement. And I just wonder what it would be like if there was if you boiled it all down.
They might want to escape into a video game and try and turn their life into a video game, but a video game fundamentally at the end of the day is not life. It's not being in the real world. It's a game. It's a video game at that as well. So it's artificial. It's they love talking about social constructs, but well, there they go. There's a construct which is built on built on unsustainable, or it's non-realistic. So I mean, it's pretty pathetic, really, to put it in a blunt sort of way. And the way we're seeing things going with so-called modern society is more and more people are turning to this sort of idea of like a video game. So they're wanting their life to be like a video game. And whether or not they might fall into a category of tribalism, they're at least sort of beginning to adopt those sort of patterns of behavior and sentiments and mentalities. So we are seeing a lot more tribalism in this modern time, when we're meant to be all cohesive and like one giant family, but in fact we're now seeing it being divided more and more. I mean, I used to be part of a community that even had the name tribe in their name, and they had the pride about it. There was a showing off. It's like my tribal family, and it's kind of like, why are you leaning into such a term like that? You're sort of trying to, I don't know, like induce an emotional charge into this idea that we are a tribe, like we're all living in this cave, and this is survival of the fittest or something like that. We're all huddled around a campfire, as if this is going, not only is it being tribal, but it's also going primitive, primordial. So it's like, is this the way that people want to be going? Maybe not consciously they're thinking it, but it can kind of make it so if people are becoming more survivalistic, they're becoming more desperate, they're becoming more impulsive, they're becoming more fearful and anxious and all the rest of this. then going into a tribal mindset and regressing back into a primitive, instinctual kind of mode of operandi it falls in line and makes sort of sense.
I think that's why the idea is so attractive to some like ideologues, is that they can see that we are turning into more tribalistic versions of ourselves, and so they kind of try to like emphasize that as like a positive aspect. Like if you are not a fan of any of the new technology, or if you're not a person that's hip with the new political or the new social norms, then you can just be kind of submit to this tribalism, and that way we can kind of cleanse the population of all these woke ideas. Yeah, and I think it's kind of, when you think about it like that, it's kind of sad. We're almost boiling ourselves down.
Yeah.
We're like reducing ourselves down to like a what you call more animalistic form of who we are.
And it's pulling other people in as well, because when they got the option of like, crikey, everyone I know is going tribal, and there's me, I'm feeling left out. Should I be brave and individualistic and stop and do my own thing, or should I join the herd? So more likely they'll join the herd, and in doing so, they're sacrificing their potential to be something greater. But it's a transaction they're willing to make because they get their security and safety and the acceptance of the herd. And then, like you say, they glorify it and make it sound more and more. They justify it and make it sound like a good thing, when really it's not, and it gains mass and more people join. So they're creating a false sense of security.
Yeah.
And eventually, at some point, it's going to collapse. It's going to, the illusion is going to crack or falter in some way, by which point it's too late. It might already be too late.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just a prison that we trap each other in, where we like, it's like a collective way of thinking kind of is more easy to shatter.
Yeah,
it's
and that's
like
another reason why
it crashes so easily.
And that's another reason why people, they don't want that honesty that you're offering there, because why would they want honesty when honesty would destroy their agenda or their pursuit or whatever. So they rather have the lie.
Yeah, honesty destroys their fantasy that they've made up.
Yeah, I mean, but they'd rather have the lie, even if they knew it was a lie. That's how sick it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you see famous people who are all about being authentic, but then it's like they're willing to tell a white lie because it's because not only they're under the thumb of advertisers, just like we all are, just like everybody else is, and just so much insecurity that people need to justify and re-justify and reinvent. And then when people criticize them, it's a positive aspect of tribalism. Like, the trolling is never like negative. It's supposed to be like a way that you can kind of let somebody know that they're misbehaving or doing something wrong without actually fully calling them out, or fully confronting them. And I think that because people have grown so sensitive to the truth, they can't even tolerate a little bit of light trolling, a light jabbing, a light, and then we develop entire archetypes and ways of behaving based on like a few figureheads of that certain sensibility that's mainstream. So if you have like a specific person that's risen above, income brackets, to where it's like, no matter how educated you are or how smart you are or how qualified you are, there's somebody out there that makes more money than you or is more well known. Like, the world would just fall into that person's way of thinking eventually, just because they can exert their influence over all of these different areas. So it almost becomes like you're stuck between such a terrible outcome of being or of having your voice stomped out, or you can join the herd and start echoing what everybody else is echoing, which is not, it's not a nice place to be, for sure. And it's really problematic if you want to think about what you want the future to be, for people to be able to express themselves. And that's why I think that it's good to have dialogues and discussions about this stuff, even though it hurts and even though it's hard to talk about. I also think I should talk slower because I've been talking really fast. But yeah. Any thoughts before we try to get Win back?
Well, the idea of worrying about the future and the future children almost seems a little virtuous. Like, think about the children. It's kind of like, well, that's all nice and dandy of you to say that, but you can't even think about how we are presently doing. So how on earth are we going to think about the children if we can't even take care of ourselves?
Well, I don't think there's a problem when you say think about the children, but you got to think about where it's coming from. Usually when these types of people throw out that think about the children and what they're talking about, number one, isn't good for the children. And number two, it's just another manipulation for them to try to get you to look at things their way or do what they want you or what they want you to do.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
As if people are not already thinking about children when they create like their value system. They're like, oh yeah, right. Thanks for reminding me to think about the children.
Yeah. And then when you get older, when you get to a certain age and you're healthy minded, you do think about society, and you do think about if you plan on having kids, like what world you'll leave to your future progeny. That's a part of your thought process. If you're healthy minded and not sociopathic.
Yeah.
So that's a given anyways. So again, it goes back to just them trying to manipulate weak-minded sheeple.
That's right, because it's not something you need to point out. If you already are thinking about the children and you're taking steps and to look after kids, it's not something, like you say, it's a given. It's not something you need to say to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of built in. If you are taking care of yourself and you're doing the right things to try and build a better society, it's sort of built into that.
But
I agree.
We healthy-minded adults and stuff are kind of programmed to, we like puppies and babies and kittens and all that stuff. So they're always trying to use that to try to play with people's emotions. I mean, every time, like, think of the Obama administration. We got a cuck in the chat, by the way. Someone deal with that loser. Anyways, the Obama administration, every time there was a mass shooting, they would they'd gather children up on stage and tell you to think about the children. That's why we need to ban AR-15s, and then they coach the children to say certain things. It's really, really sad and pathetic manipulation attempts.
And I think for somebody losing their ivory tower, they just see that and it's a perfect platform for them to be fear-mongered to, like, oh my God, these people are not thinking of the children, and like, let's hop on, let's all, as long as you disagree with the fact that that's bad, then we can sell you this. I think is what it's trying to lure us into doing when we're already conscious of what is necessary to think about as, like you said, rational adults. But it's like it's trying to make us regress. It's trying to make us like relearn from their perspective what's important. And typically whatever product it is that they're selling is is their number one priority in this world that they've created.
I think in some ways that
And
might be where
it's
the
uniting.
difference.
It unites with us. I think that their world, the marketed world, and then the or the metaverse, for example, is we unite with it through our celebrity culture. So it's like if we can amass the same amount of followers or the same influence that a person who is in our eyes famous or this like on this high horse, then there's kind of like this equality in the digital world that we can like, oh, now I'm a part of the in group, even though I sit like on my couch and I post all these memes, it's like I'm actually part of something.
Yeah, which is sad.
It is. It's ridiculous. You find yourself doing it in online tribes too, at forums too. You're just like, it's like that little bit of interaction you get from seeing somebody develop on your post.
Yeah, I think that kind of is one of the differentiations between what traditionally would be a tribe and what we're seeing now are like, even though they might be kind of tribalistic, it's shifting into more of a cult mentality, because at least with a tribe traditionally, I mean, they might have initiation rituals that takes the children and marks that transitions them into adulthood. You know, they've gone through the trials or whatever, and which I think is a good thing, really. And on the whole, the members of the tribe are working together for the sake of their tribe and tradition to go forwards. Whereas with the cult style that we're seeing today, even though they might be trying to guilt people, like think of the children, or we need to save the animals or something like that, it's not for the betterment of this neo tribe banner. It's for the, like as both of you pointed out, it's how can we guilt members into giving more or buying more. So really it's not for the benefit of the larger group. It's for the selfish individuals within that group. Those members of these new tribes we have today, these cults, they don't give an F about the tribe, really. They're they're all selfish individuals that are using one another to sort of gang together or safety in numbers or whatever. But there is that selfish proponent in each of them. So it's they're congregating into groups for pretty viral reasons when we look closer at it. You know, there is no, like with feminism, for example, the feminists don't care about feminism. They just care about themselves and what they can get individually out of it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But it serves their purpose. It makes it easier for them if they got other people on board. So there's no loyalty. So at least, like traditionally with a tribe, there'll be loyalty or honor and some respect. But with what we've got today, we don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, look how people are so open about declaring what their lifestyle is, but whereas it's much harder to actually go be authentically pursue a certain lifestyle. Where it's easy to like say, oh, I'm doing this fad diet, or I'm doing this I'm taking yoga classes or something now. But like in terms of getting a true discipline, people always end up empty-handed or upset or not satisfied, or they have to learn another skill rather than like mastering one first. And then you can see how this like it creates a society of just like people who hop onto trends, and then any authenticity or any value of honesty is thrown out the window, because I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best at all these things that I tried, but my haters and all the negative aspects of this weigh me down are things I'm fighting against, and that's how people garner sympathy, I think, a lot of the time. Which just perpetuates this behavior, and then they never try to improve upon themselves, because they always have somebody pushing down on them. And it's just, yeah.
Well, they're not going to improve themselves as well, because if they're only thinking about the here and now, the impulse, they're not thinking about the future, which is another reason why they're not thinking about the future of this tribe or of this community. Like, where is this going to go in the future? It's only basically about what can I get right here, right now.
Mhm. But they want right now is mastery. Whereas like, oh, I could pay, I could take a long term, one like small baby steps and eventually get to a place that's desirable.
That's their entitlement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
like,
yeah.
well, like we should remind ourselves that when people are in this sort of mentality and they're regressing, this is the childlike nature of what they're behaving like. So children are impulsive, children are entitled, they don't understand about consequence, they have no idea about responsibility, and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we see the bratish behavior with a lot of people. We've got a society of brats.
Yeah, and I think there's also that like a stigma of being like, I think people are bratty, yeah, because they are just trying to mask the fact that they share 99% in common with other human beings. It's like, and everybody wants to be such an individual, but I think like Dennis said on here that it's like it's only physically possible to be an individual in so many cases.
Yeah.
Until you're just like somebody else.
Yeah, that's the funny part. That's the sort of the irony and the humor, because they're so desperate for their individuality, but the more they try to individuate themselves, the more carbon copied they are of one another.
Mm-hmm. Down to the very last sob story. It's like people like podcast burnout is like a desperate attempt at individuating yourself, only to fall victim to what everybody goes through once they're burnt out. And it's just like the more committed you are to it, I feel like the more stressful the burnout is, because you're just like, I have to be interesting, I have to do this, I have to be accepted. A lot of people really don't understand the formats that they function in, because it's not an organic really generation of it. It's this monkey see, monkey do. I see this person doing it, so I can do it to that level. If I just have drive and willpower, it's the magical thinking again that everyone's on too. It's like, oh, as long as I believe I can do this, I can just grind it out.
Yeah, and on top of that belief, they'll be like, and because I'm doing it, somehow I'm going to be different from the other person. Even though I'm copying them, my way is going to be different. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
it's trauma bonding, isn't it? Like, if a monk, like if say a very rotund man like sees a monk on television and like training with like Shaolin, and he wants to be that, he like it's traumatizing him, because it's showing him something that he's like, it's showing him a different lifestyle that I see what you're saying, but never had access to.
Well, I don't know if that's trauma bonding in the sort of traditional sense, but I see what you mean.
Now he does kung fu actions because there's no way to really cope other than to adopt the identity.
You're making me think about a particular grifter when you talked about.
Am I?
But that's more like
one that said he's that exact situation, obese, but he says he's a martial artist and shit. So.
Steven Seagal.
Perfect. Yeah, like a Seagal.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
But that's kind of like, I don't know if that's really a trauma bonding. More, but I think more like jealousy, envy.
Yeah,
is really so, and then emulating and trying to imitate. So competition, really, I suppose, is driving that.
Creating a fantasy about oneself as well.
Yeah. But this is why they're so because they're so copies of one another, obviously after a while there'll be like a common pattern. So when outsiders see this pattern and catch them out, they've got no self-awareness to realize. They think like, how on earth do you see my BS. I thought I was so clever and cunning. It's like, well, no, because you're basically copying someone else as well as 100 other people. So it's at this point, it's bright as day what you're all up to. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science to see what you're doing, kind of thing. But from their point of view, it's quite a shock.
Yeah, like with the dingbat guy, whoever commented in the comment section, it's like I think it's totally a sign of healthy, behavior for there to be people who just disagree with you flat out. So like there's the idea that you should that you could block somebody like that because you don't want to see anything negative. But then also who cares if you block somebody? I just feel like it's just getting that doesn't talk about something that doesn't like threaten violence or something. It just seems kind of overly sensitive. Like, oh no, I don't want to see that.
They didn't come here to have like an honest conversation. They just came here to run.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're trying to intimidate. That's a different story.
Intimidating shit, but
yeah,
if they came here to run their mouth behind a fucking computer screen, not have it like if they came here and wanted to have an honest discourse, that I have no problems with that.
And in this group setting, we know we talked about it before, but we also have to understand our limits of being honest when it's to a specific person. We do know things about like trolls that are regular or tough guys that are constantly in our comment boxes. But then just as like a reminder for any community, it's like it's hard to figure out when you're being like there's so many things that I was like late to when it comes to I was like following along this group of people. Oh my God, these guys are so cool! It's so cool. And then one little crack I peek into, and the entire group of people I now have a different view of because they all still support it. So like it takes a little bit of humility to realize like, oh wow, you kind of have to like take myself out of how I was looking at it originally and be like, oh, you know what, there may be some things, and then to also recognize that there are people pulling. There's competition when it's a third party, when it's an outside observer issuing criticism to somebody who's like within the community. That's one thing, but then I think you also have to be cognizant that if there's somebody that's high up, there's always somebody that's trying to replace him, and that person might be the main person that's spreading information around about them. So on one hand, your allegiance is to the truth, but it's also bonded with somebody who's just as greedy for that position that they're willing to spread the information, they're willing to defame somebody in order to replace them.
My thing is if you're gonna come at me or anyone I think is cool, like come at it with the truth. Don't just make up a bunch of shit and run your suck. Like if you have legitimate criticisms, most reasonable people are willing to listen to that. But if you're talking out your ass, and there's no point in us listening to it, because that's all you're doing is trying to get attention, which is what that person was doing.
Yeah, no, I mean it's different if I'm talking about things that are realistic, and as if I was talking about my own personal views on something that was like really polarizing, then I would be like, oh, okay, calling me out is appropriate. It might not be what you guys want to hear for this show.
I mean, I had a guy. Sorry to interrupt. I had a guy on my show the other night that is a Buddhist, and that's not my thing. But we had that conversation, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't have anything disparaging to say to the guy. I was just genuinely curious, but it's not my thing. I don't practice that sort of thing.
Oh, nice. So it was like an interfaith dialogue.
Yeah. That's how I think it should be. I didn't try to ambush him and debunk him or say anything. There was a guy in the chat that did try to heckle him. But for the most part, that was a great show.
Right, and I think that as important as it is, I think it to I guess like defend yourself. I think that it's like we almost become different. We almost become different versions of ourselves to fight.
Depends on your
to fight
ego.
this battle. Yeah,
Depends on your ego. If you have too big of an ego and someone criticizes you, yeah, you're gonna hit back, and it will almost be like you're a different person, like you said, because the offense or whatever that person said to you hurt you that bad that now you got to go, and I'm not saying you per se, but I'm just making a generalization depends on where you're at mentally, I guess. I'm used to people criticizing me, but if you're going to criticize me, come with good examples of stuff. Don't just pull stuff out of your ass and come at me, because then I just know you're a bad troll. I like trolls, but be good at what you do.
yeah. Like I think that like this cringe that we see developing is almost like a result of just to like move on, is like almost a result of a lack of tribal wisdom or whatever you want to call it. That's supposed to be passed down to your kids. It's almost like people are so comfortable with themselves in a almost like blissfully unaware way that they let things slip that they otherwise would have been instructed not to, or like have etiquette in a way. And I think a lot of it is actually refreshing to the modern persons, because they think like, oh my God, it's so esoteric almost. It's like I'm used to things being polished and clean, but I'm getting something raw and real, and like I can't look away. Well, there's some disasters you just can't plan that are just so magnificent.
Well, that's Murphy's Law right there. I was listening to a podcast earlier as I was making my dinner, and someone reminded me that there was a study done, and that study concluded that a rather sizable amount of the population doesn't have an inner monologue. And what that essentially means, from my understanding, is that they don't have like an inner voice where they consider things before they say them.
Sounds like an undeveloped prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, that's not good. Let's just say that. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's just so jarring to me, because I'm always get interrupted by people who just blurt stuff out, and it's funny because they'll ask me like, hey, you ever say something that you don't mean and it comes out too quickly? And I'm like, well, no, because you're supposed to think before you say stuff. That's typically what you have to do. So it's hard. Most of the problems that entitled people deal with is that it comes from this lack of an inner monologue. It's like the world speaks for them because they recognize themselves, and all these weird and obscure places are fetishized places that they can't really connect. They can only connect with on an external level. So they've developed this whole language of things outside of them, like to the point where they can't part with their belongings, or they'll hoard things, or they'll become overly attached to material things in order to feel like they have a home.
Good point. And another thing that it just simply means is that people, again, they are not thinking about things. They're either acting or reacting, minus the thought. There's no thought process. They just do. Well, almost like they're animals.
Well, that's the impulsivity. Yeah. Monkey brain. Mm-hmm. Or lizard brain or something like that. Mammalian brain.
Yeah, like a good example is how people are intolerant to progress. Anytime they experience it around them, they kind of like shrink away from it, or they don't want to. They associate it with some sort of like, oh, you're a sociopath, or oh, you're this kind of. Or not to say that it's like always necessary to be confident and assertive, but they like use it. They use it as an excuse not to think about why the benefit of doing something. Like why are they talking like that, or why is somebody being assertive? Why are they acting in a specific way?
Well, you could look at it like this. Some people would think that this entire podcast that we're doing, having this conversation, is completely pointless because they're shallow. Whereas we're, a person who is a shallow person, and I'm not just talking about looks, but there's a lot more to being a shallow person. You can be a shallow person all around, right? They can't even comprehend what people with depth think or go through. They can't understand people like us.
You guys are using big words like depth.
Well, depth. I think depth. The new depth is the levels of irony or the levels of condescending attitude that you can get to. Like the more condescending you can be, the more deep something is. Like, for example, snobbery is almost like a trend where it's like whatever, if it is an art form that you can somehow monopolize, then everybody who benefits from it, whether it be distraction, like people making up random facts about history and the world and current events just for laughs, it has to be so deep, and it's like you don't understand what's funny about this because you're just some loser that's not successful. That's like the level to which we're willing to stoop in order to satisfy that what we really need, which is just a real depth, like a real deep meaning. But we'll settle for like just to be able to be condescending to somebody who's like asking questions. Oh, if you haven't talked, if for example, if there's people that you have kind of an estranged relationship with, or you don't talk, a person that I don't talk to, for example, I'll all of a sudden talk to again. And the reason why I haven't talked to them might be just a innocuous reason, but in their mind, it always boils down to something with my mental health or something with my, my diet or my lifestyle or a mental, like I said, mental health, or it's never because we're just not that interesting to each other. There's always in terms of relationships with other people, I feel like certain individuals develop an inner monologue where it's a little bit less complicated and more just matter of factual, like the reason why certain people interact with one another. Like for example, people who just assume that they're your friend because of a certain hashtag, like red pill or something on the video. They assume that we're all friends. And so like they feed into that the thing that we all are ascribed when we're in the manosphere is like, oh, they're just like a men's group, they're just like this cult of guys that like recruit one another. Like, no, some people just come. I think some people just come to the philosophy, and then there's other people who see the camaraderie and the brotherhood that's real, and then they try to like latch themselves onto it. Like, yeah, I'm one in the same with those people. I'm against cancel culture too. And it's people who aren't really victims of it. They're people who are people who actually did things that were wrong. Whereas we consider cancel culture a problem because of the people that it affects that are innocent. But you'll see these people who like are not necessarily innocent trashing it because it's a way that they can be like unite themselves with other people, like with bros. That's like one of the only ways that they'll ever come to you on their level. It's always either condescending or snobbery. If they can't recognize, if they don't have like if you don't if there's no recognition or nothing like specific that they can talk to you about, it's almost like a sort of fandom. People are like almost like fans of this like this person, like a signifier. Oh, you're you're a male, you're like a woke male. Oh, I can relate to you. And they just spout off some talking point or something, and you're like, oh, great, that's awesome. Yeah, it's almost slightly offensive and insulting to be like talked at with the manosphere talking points. When it's like it's so far in the past when those things were first developed. So part of me understands why the people are averted to this type of dialogue, but I think it's nonetheless it's necessary because in my view there's always one person that I think that it actually would help, and that's kind of like the Darth Vader relates to the Darth Vader topic, because it's the fact that people get so people like they start out with like, even if they've been experienced, like I had experience dating, but then like when I started looking into the red pill, I kind of like cleansed my palate of everything that I knew that was true. So we kind of enter into this world with like this Anakin mindset where we're like, I'm just a pod racer, you just think about yourself as like I'm open-minded, I'm willing to learn things, and then somebody like who has power, who has status, is able to connect with you somehow. So at the point where you're able to within yourself, you're able to be like, you know what? Because of the voices of somebody on YouTube that told me the truth about women, I'm willing to now become like an apprentice of this red pill stuff.
So
and depending on who the master is, just to finish it out, depending on who their master is, it's like you'll turn into Darth Vader, like you'll turn into the person who is your Sith Lord, because due to like just being corrupted and not really actually wanting to learn the Jedi way, but just wanting the power of the Force.
So the red pill man is Darth Vader, you're saying?
No, not him. I'm saying that he's a result of kind of like an aftermarket red pill, like taking a expired red pill PM and staying up too late, and just kind of like being lost in the sauce of that primitive mind.
Darth Vader's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Yeah. I don't think the red pill will cause BPD as a side effect, but
but the signs are there.
Yeah.
Idolization and devaluation, instability, impulse control, questionable.
Mm-hmm. So then, like, I think it seems like, well, what solution would you implement in order to, I guess, prevent yourself from becoming Darth Vader or becoming like a Darth Vader? Yeah, therapy, definitely. But also, I think I get resisting when Palpatine talks to Anakin, he kind of paints this whole world of possibilities around him that's like enshrouded within the teachings of something that's good. So like he almost creates a cult within the realm of the good to work against the good in order to further your personal gain. And I think like that's the kind of the truth about the red pill too, is like there's a lot of benefits that like people who are blue pill they're able to glean, like positive outcomes that you can gain from being immersed in that world. But then just like the red pill kind of like always remembering that, but then taking the red pill kind of turns you into a hate, like the hatred, the anger fuels you. I don't know if necessarily just everyone just hates blue pill people or being in a relationship, but there definitely is some anger and stuff that builds up after a while.
I knew he was going to suck at this analogy. The best way to do that, the best we give you an analogy would be, let's just say the red pill's a red pill. Let's just say Dom Game Division, pickup artistry, and we'll say, I don't know, the black pill is the Sith Lord.
Interesting.
Let's just say,
basically.
We'll just say we won't say the baseline pickup artists are Sith Lords. We'll say like the extreme ones that want you to buy like soap and, you know, drives around in the car and, you know, things like that basically are the Sith Lords. And we'll say like, you know, we'll say MD is like a Sith Lord as well too, since he basically preaches some shit that doesn't make any sense, and he's basically just
like a gray Jedi.
Yeah. No, he's not really a great Jedi. He basically is just preaching stuff that don't make any sense and doesn't really fit well with the milieu of the teachings, basically. So basically, all the people who teach red pill, and it doesn't fit the milieu of red pill, or is something that they try to take and create their own. Like, it's one thing to create your own style or form of, you know, lightsaber fighting, but it's another thing to take it, flip it on his head, and just say that none of this stuff really matters anymore. You need to learn this style right here and this style only, without even remotely mastering and or learning any of the other stuff within the order, basically, or any of the other lightsaber forms, we'll say. So that means basically people who basically bypass the whole entire red pill and they're going straight for, like, I don't know, money grabbing and stuff like that, or, you know, people who will 1 minute be standing next to you, flip the script, and then next thing you know, it be saying, I'm not MGTOW anymore. I'm this person. Angry man for anybody who missed that one.
So in a way, lying in that setting is corrupt. It's like corrupting both the people who have the Force, like the red pill and black pill or whatever, the pill manosphere, and then the normie blue pill non-Force people. It needs to corrupt both in order to propagate itself.
No, because the blue pill would be like the normies who don't have the powers to be a Jedi, or don't have the abilities or the Force, or the, you know, if you want to go off the old format, the midichlorians to basically do what they need to do to be red pill, basically, if you know what I mean. Then you got like the black pillars that are like, you know, who flip the script and go a little too damn far off course. They're like the Sith Lords. They want power. They're trying to tell you that nothing you say matters and all this other stuff, and they're trying to tell you that you're just coping and stuff like that, and, you know, that type of stuff. Then you got like the pickup artists. We'll just say, case in point, good pickup artists. I don't really always agree with them, but a good pickup artist is that one guy, Secret 33 or something like that, or Secret 3. He got like the 3 in his name.
33.
33.
Yeah, but that's the only one that I can say out of all of them are probably any good. Like, as far as, like, he doesn't go too far.
He rips off someone else's material, but I'm not going to get into that. He's basically copy pasting someone else's material. Okay,
well, we'll say he's copy and pasting, but he's at least keeping it tame, unlike these other people that'll charge you like $5,000 for some type of boot camp or some shit like that.
$4,000. Also, it's endearing. It's more endearing for a pickup artist to copy styles than to claim that they have an original style of pickup artistry. Like, especially, it just sounds a little bit too good to be true, as opposed to be like, this is something that that's like tried and true. You know,
the game has been around for a long time, and there's a bunch of the red pill itself. I think you've heard me talk about this, but the red pill itself, a lot of that was developed by early pickup artists who did all the work, collected all this data, and also applied Evo Psych to what they had experienced out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, there are a bunch of guys that are basically taking all that stuff because there are books written about it. And they're claiming, oh, my system does this and that. All they're doing is they're I don't know if you guys have heard of Mystery, but that guy in particular is he's just stealing Mystery Method and putting his own really crappy twist, and he has no game. But he'll sell you $4,000 boot camps in Brazil or whatever, and he also says the red pill's bullshit. So, not all PUAs or red pill, if that makes any sense, or even claim that.
True. I will say that in a heartbeat. Not all PUAs are red pill though, but like the sad part about this, like you said,
some of them are simps.
Yeah, and some of them copy and paste, and some of them are still blue pills.
Yeah.
Some of them are blue pill to the point where they want you to come back to the plantation just so they can sell you some shit, they can send you out there.
Well, Hammered Hand did a stream on this particular guy about 2 weeks ago, roughly. The guy I reference a lot. He's a fucking simp. But so if you want to know who I'm talking about, you just go on Hammer Hand's channel, Mr. Simpalicious.
Simpalicious.
Yeah, that's what Hammer called him.
Simpalicious.
That's a juicy name.
Well, I mean, I know this might seem a little, weird coming from me, but all the guy does is attack other channels and then say that when he's not doing that, he's saying that his system, which is basically Mystery Method, which has been out for like almost as long as Yam's been alive.
He's got
a special system,
Yeah. Like case in point, like I always said this, like I know game and I know how to use game more than just picking up women. Like I've gotten out of tickets using game. I've gotten a raise using game. I've gotten promotions using game. I've gotten a lot of shit using game, like spitting game to somebody.
Game is just
so it's not even just about getting girls.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about gaming the system to get better results out of the thing. Let it be a girl, let it be a job, let it be promotion, let it be you convincing the bank to give you a big ass loan.
Right. And it's not and then the best part about game is that I know the black pill guys say game is manipulation. Well, it's not really. If game is who you are, you're not being manipulative because you're not being fake. You're just being you.
True. Because now when you start getting into like fake it till you make it type stuff, or
then you're capitalizing on
maintain a frame or anything like that. That's when you start getting into like the bull crap, basically. When you start talking about like maintaining frame or fake it till you make it and stuff like that. Because the sad part about that is you can only fake it but so far before somebody sees through it.
Yeah,
then they call bull crap on you.
You're betting against the house.
On you. Do you end up on receiving end of some stuff like fresh and fit.
Just crowd humiliation, just like ultimate humiliation, because it's kind of like saying I don't need to work on my game. I just need to make sure everybody else's game is loose, and I can play loose, and I can get what I want out of it, as opposed to just like, oh, okay, hone in on my game, so then it's impenetrable. But then there's the opposite end, and I think that's part of the analogy too, because like there's an amount of power that you can have that's strong, but it's like you're so irresponsible with it, like you're untrained with it, or hasn't been practiced that much, so it's like you're in a bad environment for it, or using the wrong. It's almost like if to use what Tico is saying, it's like if you're playing cards and somebody else is showing you their cards, it's kind of like you're not really cheating. They're really bad at hiding what kind of cards they have. So using game to using game to almost like get to even learn. Because people think game is about conquering and stuff, and sometimes it's just about learning from the situation and getting as much as you can.
Social. Well, it's not even that. Game is simply social acuity, being charming, developing that.
Yeah.
And I know he said, "Fake it till you make it" is bad, and it can be, but the whole point is you're encouraged to fake it till you make it at first. But
until you actually get till you actually get the
Yes.
confidence to actually keep going.
Eventually, that becomes who you are. You absorb it, just like the red pill. You know.
Yeah, I know, but what I was trying to say about that though is, if you don't make it past that phase where you can fake it till you make it, till you actually get to where you need to be, people will see through that, and that's the sucky part.
Yeah.
And then they'll be calling you out. They'll be calling you fake. They'll be calling you fraud. And then you'll be destroyed or ruined, or, you'll feel very angry and want to lash out at all these people, sadly. But the sad part about that is these are the very people who told you to fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where I always say, look, if you're going to do it from a place of being genuine. Because the sad part about that is, like, I would tell you in a heartbeat, I'm not the most handsomest person in the world. The only things I got going for me is the fact that I'm a criminal and I will do criminal things, and the fact that I just commit and own it. Outside of that, I'm tall too, but that's neither here nor there. Outside of that, I really don't have very much else going for me. The neat thing about it is, believe it or not, a lot of women actually like a criminal and like a bad boy.
Yes.
Which is sad. And that's like the only thing that I really got going for me. The fact that I would do things and break rules and bend rules is what makes me attractive to a lot of women.
Yeah, and to your point, like Mystery, the guy who Mystery Method, who created Mystery Method, well, look at where he's at now. He's basically a simp who's damn near on suicide watch. So
yeah,
that's what happens when you, number one, haven't absorbed the red pill, because not all PUAs back then were red pill. They were just learning game to fix a problem, which is what guys do. And their problem was that they were kind of invisible to women, or they were struggling with their dating life. But it's interesting how much hate are thrown at these PUA guys when they're kind of the people who were the pioneers and all the stuff that we talk about now.
Yeah, well, I think the hate's coming from a place where, to be honest, like I said, it's just the lack of originality. It triggers some people, where it's just like, I understand. I didn't know what PUA was until I went on the internet. Like, I didn't find it like what you said, some methods are older than me. So it's like, that's why I never really got deep into it. I decided to focus on talking deep, which is not really attractive to women. Talking like sitting there philosophizing, rubbing your head,
that's
scratching your head. It's not attractive.
That's the exact opposite of what attracts women.
Exactly.
You have to basically, tone yourself down and almost be a simpleton. You have to basically act like one of these people who doesn't have an inner monologue that I was just talking about. That's a part of it. But I was getting ready to say something important, and now my brain shit it out. I hate when that happens.
Me too. Don't feel bad. I'm getting old.
Oh yeah. I was just going to bring up that, like, there was this channel that you've probably never heard of called VH1. And
oh yeah, I've heard of VH1.
And there was actually a TV show back in the early 2000s that starred Mystery, and it was called The Game or something like that. Or The Pickup Artist.
Okay.
Yeah, it was The Pickup Artist.
I remember
Wait,
that.
is it the tall white guy that looks like emo Steven Tyler almost?
Yeah,
like,
he wears a top hat and he paints his nails.
Yeah.
And he would do magic card tricks or whatever.
So it wasn't. He more or less looked like Slash.
He was so corny, dude. Yeah, that was it's an insult to
Believe it
Steven
or
Tyler.
not,
He was grody.
That shit worked back in the day. You wanted
it did. Doing card tricks and stuff.
Yeah, you wanted a peacock, is what they call it, peacocking, because the male peacock is always, has prettier colors and stuff like that. Aaron Clary's live, huh? Yeah. So the male peacock has bright, brilliant colors, and the female is very plain. So that's what they base it off of. So they'd encourage guys that like kind of dress like Tika was just saying. There's archetypes, right? There's like the rock star, the rapper, the criminal. The athlete, people would emulate and try to just, lean into these archetypes, and women go for that shit.
Yeah. True story.
And obviously, if you're a MGTOW, you monk guy, you don't really give a shit either way. But it is interesting to talk about.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk about because you gotta at some point you gotta dissect it, whether you're a monk or not, to actually talk about it and form your opinion on it or give your thoughts on certain things, whether we like it or not. And you might be a monk, but you still have to talk about the stuff that you see and the stuff around you and the stuff that's going on. It's almost like monks are pretty much like the news reporters of the manosphere, and they're typically a lot of them are pretty neutral or unbiased.
Yeah.
But some of them are very biased.
Yeah. I appreciate the unbiased ones that are just like, hey, this is how it is,
Or the ones that will come out and tell you, I'm not a fan of it, but let's take a deep dive into it.
Right.
Like, okay, cool.
And then you got the ones that are like, still in red pill rage mode that are damn near like the, unfortunately, those are the guys that you could almost parallel with, your most hardcore green, pink-haired feminist.
Yeah. And there's a few of those. It's like, okay, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
next channel. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to have the Homeland Security knocking at my door because I watched your channel.
Man, and this is why I've started to kind of refer to all this as the mana swamp, because you got everybody's at war with each other. The tribalism that the earlier topic that we were talking about, the PUAs are getting attacked by the MGTOWs, and the PUAs are attacking the black pillars, and one PUA is attacking pretty much anybody who's not him.
Yeah.
Simplicious again. If you go and look at his channel,
I'm still using that from here on out.
hey, just
Simplicious.
That didn't originate from me. That's Hammerhand.
That's Hammerhand. I know. I'm still using that from here on out. Now I'm Simplicious.
But if you go and you look at his channel, most of it is either like bullshit pictures of girls he paid to pose with him, or they're attack videos. He's attacking pretty much everybody who's not him. And I mean, he attacked, like, the black pill guys started like sucking up to him because he was attacking Rollo Tomasi and some other guys, and then they quickly realized their mistake when he attacked them and said that the black pill was toxic, and it is. I actually agree with Simplicious on that one.
Well, my things on it is it can be toxic if you over abuse it or overuse it or try to overly do it. Like, there are some black pillars that are not, they don't really consider themselves black pillars, but they're more knowledge based, or they're more esoteric, or they're like case in point, like he don't really consider himself a black pillar, but there used to be a YouTuber, I don't know if he's still making content, Cosmic Skeptic.
Never heard of him.
He used to make videos on a regular basis, breaking down different topics from different things. Let it be the manosphere, let it be science, let it be history, let it be Bible, let it be religion, let it be anything. He used to break down every single topic, and he used to literally give like a unbiased point of view on it, despite the fact that I think he was atheist. I could be wrong, but I think he was atheist. But he used to give like the most unbiased views on everything, which was actually pretty nice. And he played devil's advocate a lot. But I don't know I think he went to college, or he had to go to college and stuff like that. So he stopped making videos because he got busy with his learning. But yeah, he was actually a pretty good example of somebody that is a knowledge-driven black pillar, or what one of the people referred to as the light side of the black pill, basically.
Sure. And I don't totally disagree with the black pill on everything. They hit the nail on the head on some things, but the problem is like the people that are in that group and how they behave, and they don't do themselves any favors.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
They don't. And one thing I was saying to Yam in a stream the one time is, you ever notice, like, a lot of the stuff that they say is nothing more than something taken from another group of people, but it's reworded differently, like looks maxing. What do MGTOW say about, what's the MGTOW's version of looks maxing? Hit the gym.
Well, they were already I'm just saying.
Out. Well, no, I'm just saying MGTOW basically is hit the gym, focus on yourself, focus on your money, focus on, stay on your grind, basically. That's MGTOW. Red pill is basically like, basically the same thing as look maxing, hit the gym, maybe pick up some girls, focus on yourself in different various areas. So the sad part about that is a lot of the stuff that they say is a lot of the stuff that's ripped off from a lot of other subcultures, but they rename it a different name, which is actually pretty funny. Like anything they say or anything that they use is basically a repackaged version of something that's already been said by MGTOW or Red Pill. Like looks maxing, like what's their other favorite thing that they like to say?
You're still on the topic of the black pill guys, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they use, but if you actually listen to it, it's basically a repackaged version of.
Well, like it's over, bro. Is really just it's just like a fleeting thing, or post nut clarity.
No,
yeah, or it's over, like or better yet, it's over would be equivalent to like
control your urges.
Control your urges, or
post nut clarity is control your urges.
Or it's over would be equivalent to when a MGTOW says that when they talk about feminists and they talk about the curtain or the veil of the female is actually being lifted.
Or the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Or the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Yeah. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, or the veil of femininity has been lifted by the feminists and put on Front Street. That's literally it's over.
Well,
so it's one of those things. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they see themselves as the evolution of the red pill. In other words, they say, well, you say you're the red pill. We're the real red pill.
And this is something I've always said, like, especially this is why we do Bleeding Edge Red Pill. Everybody is red pill, no matter if you like it or not. You had to come through the red pill to get to where you're going, whether you like it or not. Now, what I say about different subsections of the red pill, let you be black pill, let you be MGTOW, let you be everybody else, is you're basically a specialized group within the red pill. Just like pickup artists are, just like the black pillars are. You specialize in a certain area, and that's all you specialize in. Now, there's some MGTOWs that are very well rounded. I will give them that, but particularly there's a certain thing that MGTOW always focuses towards, or certain things that MGTOW basically takes and says, well, we're going to do this, and we're going our own way, and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. That's cool. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that there's more to the red pill than your group. This is why the red pill is so vast.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you got going on. Exactly. Let you be a truther, let you be a red pillar, let you be a pickup artist, let you be a MGTOW, let you be a black pill, let you be a white pill, let you be a purple pill, let you be any pill you want to be, basically. Or let you be anything you want to call yourself, or anything you want to refer to yourself as. You all had to come through the red pill, and you learned a certain portion of the red pill just so you can actually go off and speak your truth about the red pill.
Yeah, I'll say that BRP, he talks to girls all the time about like dating and stuff, and he's a black pillar, but it's like a lot of people would try to separate, not to make BRP seem like a victim to the black pill community, because he handles himself pretty well, but like the whole idea that the whole like animosity towards women from the black pill is something that is new. Definitely, well,
it's not really new because here's the sad part about that. That's actually not really new, because if you actually go back and look at some of the MGTOW people, they actually have the same animosity towards women. And then you go look at some of the red pill people that's going through red pill rage, they have the same animosity. So in all technicality, they all came from a certain subsection of the red pill at the end of the day. And they basically ran with it, and they went their way, and they carved out their own little niche. This is why a lot of us are being accused of hating women. This is why a lot of us are being accused of, being terrorists, or you name it, because of people like this. It doesn't matter if you're black pill, it doesn't matter if you're red pill, it doesn't matter if you're MGTOW. Everybody has that fringe group within their groups.
Yep. That's why I brought up earlier. And Billy, I'm glad you pointed that out to me. But that when we were talking about tribalism, I don't think you were here at the time, Tico, but we were talking about cleaning up your own tribe. Part of tribalism, it can be good because you push out the shitbags, you push out the people that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I am a big proponent of us doing that, no matter which tribe you're in, because as you said, all it takes is that one moron to do something stupid, and everybody gets.
I mean, take the Ticosphere, for example. If you want to consider one tribe, I don't think people ever get pushed out of the Ticosphere. I know I'm using it loosely as an analogy, but like in a way, pushing out almost seems like it's something that's reacting to stimuli. You know, it's like, oh, times have changed. We no longer need these people, these dirtbags. Because a lot of times the people who are dirtbags or something might have built part of the infrastructure, or they did some of the hunting, or they did some of the they like at one point in time fought or worked or somehow injured or debilitated. They can't actually provide anything to the tribe anymore. So they're like excommunicated, you know. Whereas like I think that it's not always necessary to push people out of the tribe, and like maybe I know that it's pretty open-minded, but the idea of even letting people into the tribe that are good is also something that I think is the positive part of tribalism. Is that what a tribe recognizes as good, it will always value it over some like outside like perspective. Whereas like you can it's like for me, for example, like I could have easily fallen into like a black pill negative tribe or something, but I might manage to fall somewhere into like some space in between that, or like the Ticosphere, which has some black pill like people in it who have some black pill like perspective, but I think it's more well rounded than just calling it black pill. So I mean, there's that. There's adding people to the tribe that are going to help. Obviously, not like a liberal amount of people being added, because then at that point, it's not really. It's just like a small collective of people at that point. But no, there's the idea of this diaspora of red pill people who like were used to the original red pill stuff, and now we have this like warped view of it kind of being the main. Oh, Cypher's in the house.
Hey, what's up?
Big baby Cypher? Oh, what's up? You look 3D.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear you just fine, man. What's going on?
Okay, cool. Hey, not too much. Let me do the thing where my phone turns sideways and makes everything look different. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead to get set up and everything. But yeah.
How you boys doing?
Yeah, we were just talking about tribalism, and we were talking about the black pillars, and the black pillars are kind of like the Sith lords of the manosphere. Like if you think about the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, people who are like, or people who sell $4,000 classes and stuff. They're like Senator Palpatine, and they're grooming the next Darth Vader. Well, one of these young people coming up in like some of these like the liminal rings, the liminal orders are going to become the next like Darth Vaders.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Listen, man.
Do you think it's like impotent? It's more of like an impotent thing, like something grandiose that never actually will be realized.
Well, okay, give me just one moment here. So I will say that I grew up going to pride parades many times, and I used to go as a child to roller skate rinks Monday nights where like 30 gay dudes were just like skating around the disco music, and I went there a lot. And I have to tell you, with all that in mind, what you just told me is the gayest fucking thing I've heard.
Okay.
Like, seriously, okay, look,
pretty gay.
Look, that whole thing, the whole black pill thing, it's fucking immature, first of all, right? It's immature because if you're going to have no hope in your future, then you don't have a fucking future. Why are you even here still? Okay? So it's immature. Secondly, why are you telling other people that, this is an outlook you can adopt? That is trying to get people into bad emo music. That's what
it's like the Columbine. Yeah, it's like the Dylan Klebold effect, or it's like, oh, look, I'm this tortured, smart, anti-establishment person. Let me try to bring down society.
Yeah,
which I think is giving more credit to a black pillar who just it might just be a little subculture that they like to do after they get off work. They just like to go online and be negative. They might not be wanting
you guys are getting me triggered over here. All this black pill.
What did we say? Oh, what did we say? What do they always say to you, Billy? Don't they always say something to you that triggers the crap out of you?
What do you mean? I don't know. What, with regard to the black pill?
Yeah. There was. I remember an episode a while back. I was trying to remember the callback, but it was like something like, or it was in a forum, like a narcissism forum that you were in, where they were like,
well, when people talk about
petty, the word petty.
Petty. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the word petty.
Well, it wasn't me that got triggered over it. It was everyone else. Like, they got triggered because I was the one that said petty.
Yeah, no, I remember you were getting triggered ironically at the fact that like people thought it was petty, but yeah, that's essentially what we're doing is.
I mean, you're saying like, right, Baron, you're triggering me right now. Right? I was the one that said they were being petty, and they were getting their knickers in a twist because I called them petty. So I was getting pissed off at them being pissed off.
It was kind of like the one time. It was kind of like the one time when I went on a run of videos about him.
Mr. OMD, yeah.
No, I didn't do that. That's before him. I was going on a run of videos about them, and it got to the point where they were like, "Why are you picking on us?" In my comment section.
Well, it's funny. The black pillars always get
Why are you
upset
always
with
picking
people
on us? Leave us alone.
What the fuck do you care if you're being picked on? You're a fucking black pillar, motherfucker.
Yeah, why did
you don't
they
give a
care?
shit. You don't give a fuck.
About that is they literally cried about it. Then the one time somebody says I should debate two different black pillars, and I sent them an email. They said they're going to show up, and they never showed up.
See, it's not me, but I've got a totally different viewpoint when it comes to the black pill, and I hear what you guys are saying. That you've got these emos, you've got these doom and gloomers, you've got these people who give up, they're depressed and all this. I don't see those as black pill. I see them as babies.
Yeah, so like, no, I wasn't finished earlier, by the way. Yeah, no, babies. Yeah, okay, so like I said, the shit it's fucking gay as shit, right? First of all. Secondly, it's immature, right? It doesn't do shit. Third, they're sitting there telling people this is a worldview to adopt. And fourth, you don't accomplish anything by being a professional, pathetic person. You know, a triple P.
Yeah, that's like you might as well, like at a certain point of you like complaining that the world is coming to an end and all this stuff. Like I refer to them as emo black pillars. That's the way I refer to them as. But those are the ones I refer to as emo black pillars. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if you cannot focus on your life enough to better your life and make your life better and not have to worry about women, because their whole entire shtick, I shit you not, is being able to procreate and being with a woman.
I mean, if we look at it, the only thing that people who have monopolized the online conversation are willing to accept about the manosphere is that small part of the black pill that's about procreation, that's about looks, money, and status. And they take that and then they say anybody that disagrees with that is like the alt-right, or they're trying to play around with it to be like black pillars have a point, you know, like, and red pillars are just people who are immature. And
what they'll say is basically red pill and MGTOW are coke is what they'll say.
Yeah, the black pillars. Yeah.
I was like, well, that's when I made that one video where I said everything is technically coke. From a psychological standpoint, every single thing that we do and every single thing that we are and every single thing we claim to be is nothing more than coke. Let you clinging to red pill, let it you being clinging to MGTOW because you're basically coping with the fallout of something else at the end of the day. And I said that from a psychological standpoint.
Yeah. That's too simple. It's too simple. Look,
really. I mean,
just because I sit here and fucking try to improve myself and my community, it's not a cope to try to improve your surroundings, right? That's bullshit.
Well, no,
how
because
are you gonna
it's not. Basically, what they're trying to say is basically you choosing to be MGTOW, or they'll say you got sent your own way, or something like that, or if you're red pill, you're just coping with what the reality actually is, when in fact you're actually saying what the reality actually is, and they're basically they're over exaggerating what the reality actually is. You see what I'm saying? Because the sad part about that is I was talking about something when one of them showed up, and I said the irony to it is what you fail to miss is all this online data. There's a larger pool of women and a small pool of men online dating. Like you can't take the online consensus and say, well, all men fall in this category, because the female to male ratio on online dating is ridiculously off. It's basically like, women versus men in Russia. So it's like, it's actually much worse than that, but I'm just basically trying to give you a clear picture on how it actually looks if you actually line it up.
It's like developing a plan based on an outlier.
Yeah.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, like, to go about any life you want to, right? If you want to go about a life that is your own and it somehow falls in like an ideological frame for people, they want to try to tell you what your life is, right? And that doesn't make any sense. Like, here's the thing: don't let these people tell you what a cope is, because they can't speak on reality. They don't know what reality is. They don't know what reality is if they want to do shit like go to fucking Ukraine and fight in a war that's not even theirs. Like, these people, even like these black pillars, like they can't tell you what is good or just to the world, because they only see things in the view that they see it. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be fucking black pillars, would they? Because you can go anywhere you want in the world, not really at this point, and you can discover for yourself how to make use of your time, right? So to say that people are coping just because they're not falling in line with your frame of a bad or sick world or society, don't let them tell you what a cope is, because they don't know what reality is. They don't know what it means to cope, but they do cope a lot themselves. This is why I think they're such experts, because they're so sad all the time themselves, they can actually tell you what's right about your world and what isn't. And they can't. If they were capable of doing that, they could assess their own life easily for themselves and make changes for themselves, and they wouldn't be unhappy, would they? So you don't let these people boil it down so simply. You don't let them look at like statistics and everything else. If you're doing something for your life that you actually feel good about, and you are even like a member of the community as a result, you can't have people boil it down so simply for you, because they don't even know what a life is. If they knew what a life was, they wouldn't have the current life they have now. They would not be the same people they are right fucking now, would they?
True. Because the thing that always eluded them about me was like the fact that I was always in a relationship. And they would tell me I'm coping because I can't get a girl. I'm like, dude, I'm in a relationship. I'm trying to get out this motherfucker. What do you mean I can't get a girl?
I remember you had quite a few belts with what's his name? MD.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so bad that my son had to get involved in the shit.
Sydney. You were arguing with a man named Sydney.
Yeah, basically. And the sad part about that, I've been arguing with that community before Sydney was Sydney. Like, I've been arguing with that community since...
And he's like Polish.
For years.
Are you talking about Sydney MGTOW?
He's an Indian.
No, not Sydney MGTOW. We're talking about...
No, I didn't say Polish.
MGTOW Dictionary, now known as...
he was an audience
he's now known as the laws of power or laws of artistry or something like that now.
Yeah.
Pickup artistry or some crap like that.
He's changed his name. It was he got a new goofy book.
48 Laws of something.
48 Laws of Dating.
Yeah.
I call it the 48 Laws of Not Dating because he's a black pillar, but and he doesn't strike me as someone who has much dating experience, and it seems like he's just projecting, and not all his little followers, because he's older, he's in his 50s. You know, all his little followers think, he's this older, wiser man that they should listen to. And that's why I say it's toxic.
Yeah. Because the sad part about that, a long time ago, he was on a stream with me.
He had like 8 different streams with
I know.
Yeah.
And the sad part about that is that's when I made the rule. That's when the rules came up. No talking about other people that are not here to defend themselves. What was the rules, Yam? You were there for them rules. No
I was
talking about other
there.
people that are not here to defend themselves. Respect people having a panel, and it was a third one.
Okay, if the person wasn't here to defend themselves, don't talk about them. Don't talk about family.
Well, family
And
came
respect.
last. Family came
Respect.
after the one stream when he kept on trying to harp on Hammerhand. Don't talk about other people's family members. Literally came after that stream. That was number 4. There was only 3 rules originally.
And then respect. And then it's redundant, but you also had to add respect everybody on the panel itself.
Panel, yes, which made no sense to me while I was adding that, but apparently people couldn't understand.
You're
Respect the panel.
A 54-year-old man and stuff. Keep that in mind.
I know. And the same part about that is, the best part about that is, at the time, Lazlo was like 6. He came up with those rules.
Huh.
My 6-year-old came up with those rules, and a 50-year-old man couldn't follow them.
Yeah.
Like, think about that.
It was just very disappointing. I can remember just being me, being Yam, and being kind of like, oh, these streams are kind of a fun new little shindig on Friday nights. And then seeing somebody showing up to the party that's like trying to be the center of attention, but he really doesn't know exactly what's going on yet. Or it's like he picked like it was he came black tie. He came black tie, and it was like a Halloween party. And he just was trying way too hard, and then seeing him just kind of be like, nah, man, you're in denial. It's like, dude, you're wearing a full tux. Like you're trying way too hard. And
I'll just say something about what Tico just said there about his 6-year-old writing the rules that a 50-year-old can't. Remember what we said earlier in the conversation about think about the children. Well, it just shows that Tico's son has just proved that we don't need to worry about the children. They'll do fine. It's us interfering with the children that is the problem.
Yeah, because the sad part about that, what people don't know about a lot of the live streams I'm in, when I'm trying to explain something to somebody and they're not getting it, I literally mute my mic and I turn to Lazlo and I go to him, are you getting what I'm saying? Am I being crazy? Does it sound like outlandish? Are you catching this? He goes, yeah. And if he can catch it and you can't catch it, now I have a problem with you. You see what I'm saying? Because at the time when I'm in the live stream, my son is sitting right next to me and I'll mute the mic and I'll go, are you catching this, Lazlo? Are you understanding where Daddy's going with this? Do you understand the line of reasoning and the line in which Daddy's taking to get to this point? And if he understands it, but a grown man can't understand it, now I have a problem. And this is the problem I've always had.
You actually do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good father right there. Good shit, dude.
Because I want my son to basically learn the world, but I want him to learn it through his own eyes. And I don't want to manipulate him into, I don't want to push him into learning something that he doesn't need to learn, or he doesn't quite understand.
What's the name of Simba's father? What's his name? No, I can't remember. But it's like Simba.
Mufasa.
Mufasa. Yeah, Tico's like Mufasa. Teaching the Simba.
Yeah, if you were to force a worldview, you'd just be another parent that turned out to be like some sort of useless LGBT advocate again. Like, keep in mind, like, I'm the gayest guy here, right? No, LGBT advocates, like, when they become parents, what does someone protest because there's a gayer person here? I mean, feel free to stand up.
You really want to talk? No, I'm just kidding.
I know what you're saying, but the sad part about that is there's people of all walks of life that do the same daggone thing. Because I could think of fathers who try to force their children into basketball because they play basketball, so they want their children to live. They want to live vicariously through their children to play basketball. So that's
LeBron said he's gonna play Bronny's first year on his team. Like, can you imagine that? Like, that's like crazy nepotism. But sorry, getting to you, Cypher. I don't want to make being gay a bit. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that like sincerely. I just meant that as a joke.
I figured I'd take the pulse real quick. You know how it is. You gotta take the pulse.
I know it's kind of hacky to pretend to pretend to be gay to be funny. I don't want to be.
Yeah,
like
no,
that,
it's hey, like none of us here. Like, I'm pretty sure none of us here are leftists, right? Like, you probably couldn't be a leftist and be here at the same time. So I don't think it's really a big deal to be like, yeah, I'm gay, fucking. But like it's funny. It's funny because like I could do worse. Don't you worry. I could do worse. I could be a gay guy.
Oh, trust me, kid. I've seen it.
About that, no, I won't say that I'm. I won't say that I'm. I won't say that I'm like a leftist, but I'm definitely not like a West Coast conservative because I don't like how they go in on the governor or the governor of California. Like I think it's just so easy for them just to like rag on him, almost like he's like the Trump for conservatives. But anyways, I digress.
I want to ask because you guys are I'm picking this up as there's something of a tone about talking about things that aren't so great, like these black pillars and shit. Like maybe there are better people out there that we could look into than like a black pill channel or something. So like aside from the people that are on this panel right now, who would each of you say is worth looking into that could be like worth the time? Like who would you like directly say is like worth the most time in this kind of like, we're talking about like people being people and like, you know, trying to figure out the world and everything else. Like who would you guys say is like worth the time, absolute, aside from people on this panel that you could really listen to and sort of like maybe figure out life a bit better? Who would you guys say?
What do you mean as far as black pillars or as far as people in general?
Or just good
Like
role
just
models.
like just yeah, like people who like are good models for like because like I could think of like there's a few people that I could think of that the name's not coming to mind, but like people that are like good to take like notes from, like good to take like advice, that people that talk about like growing up and everything else. Like who would you guys say aside from who people on the panel would you like suggest people go to like really listen to and really each other like teach them?
Human. I would say human.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up.
Human.
There, yeah.
Human. I would say
Growing
human.
up, I would say yeah.
Off the bat,
going after.
Off the bat, I would say
like
human.
Content-wise, if you want to make content, Replicant Fish.
Spetsnaz if he was still around.
Spetsnaz if he was still around, yeah. I would say human. I would say off the cuff, human, and Quasi-Mendias.
I can't remember his name, but he's like Bull Anderson, Yarg Hor Bull Anderson. Do you guys know the channel I'm talking about?
Vaguely, I know. I think I know what you're talking about. Did he still make content or no? Did he quit for a little bit?
Well, I think he still makes content, but he'll like be out in the woods oftentimes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what's that dude's name?
The one that makes content, but he's still in the woods. There's two of those. You got Black Wolf, and you also have the other guy you're talking about.
Like Bull. What?
Like One Master Teacher?
No, not One Master Teacher. He's a traveler. I mean, he's good for traveling. One Master Teacher is good for traveling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Lam the MGTOW. No, but what you said, Cypher, I was getting into the weeds, but you said like about growing up. I think Tico, even though Tico's on the panel, I just think like channels like Tico where he talks about how he grew up and how like it wasn't, red pill is not something that has to be like forced onto you or like you pulling the wool out from over, like pulling the wool away from your eyes so that you can see. It's more of like you can see how it was kind of like used to help develop somebody. Like, hey, look at that. What do you see? Notice something. Notice something different. And then depending on your interest, you'll just naturally gravitate towards material that sheds light on the truth about like something.
Like,
whereas
basically what Yama's saying is basically my family, because my family went through some type of trauma, basically where they lost everything. A certain section of my family decided that there's this quote that we all use: "We parts with nothing," and we literally parts with nothing. So what basically what went on was my grandfather and my grandmother basically went about developing a system so we don't part with anything, and you basically learn all about the whole entire system and how it works. And they teach every single last person, from the females all the way down to the boys, all the way down to the kids. So Lazo right now is still learning, despite the fact that he's a kid. Hell, Sati, when she gets old enough to talk, she'll learn. But there's a thing in my family where we don't really refer to it as red pill. We basically refers to a reality of dating, or the realities of the sexes, or realities of thing where we'll basically take a young one out and we'll basically look at like somebody arguing, or we'll look at the interactions between a male and a female, and we'll basically tell them, what do you see? Tell me what you interpret from that thing. Tell me what's going on with that person. Tell me what you see in that person and how that person's responding to that person. You know, things like that. Then we'll also go on to tell you that that's not how a man should act. A man should be more steadfast and stoic. He shouldn't be emotional like that. He shouldn't be this way. And it's basically one of those things. On top of that is, when it comes to the family teachings, you also learn that, you know, in my family, everybody gets DNA tested. It don't matter if you came from the females in the family or the males in the family, you get DNA tested. So every single child that is born gets DNA tested in my family. If it doesn't match the father of my sister's, like if my sister had a baby out of wedlock, or she had a baby, everybody would know about it. We would really put you on Front Street. It's typically how it works. The same thing goes for the men.
Real quick, the channel I was trying to pull up earlier, Andreas Bull Hansen, that's his name.
Yeah, I knew you were talking about. I was trying to remember his actual name.
Yeah, I put it in the private chat, so you guys can look into him if you never heard of him before. He's pretty good.
Okay, I know you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, guys. We're gonna. Cypher, I'm glad you showed up and you hit that, like, you kind of called back to a tribalism topic that we had before. I'm shocked if you weren't actually listening. It's so hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. If you go back and listen to it, like, your entrance was almost perfectly timed, because it was like beating somebody over the head with a primordial club of information about their feelings. But yeah, so. Just to kind of close out, I noticed Tico had talked about just giving somebody a voice to express what's happening around them. I'm glad that we have the engagement that we do just in our comments section. That would be a good way to figure out, without any specific examples, like if you go to if you find a community that you like, just study the people in the community, like study how they engage with the content. Like if it's overwhelmingly positive, make a note of it. If it's overwhelmingly negative, make a note of it. And then just kind of like, I guess you can, like, that way you can manage your expectations for what to expect the next time that content is like posted. That way every time you come to it, you kind of have a fresh.
What does that mean?
I think it's me. Is it me?
Yeah, I don't. It might be me. No.
So yeah, like that's a good way to.
We're closing out.
Yeah, we're gonna try to keep these ones short now that we've been going about 2 hours. So, but
and to answer your question, Aspiring Formula, yeah, they would be a nice form of the Trisco Mafia would be a nice form of that, of Black Pill. Since we kind of sort of glossed over and we forgot to answer your question. Sorry about that, Pimpin'.
Yeah, Inspiring. What we'll do is we'll probably end up talking about this. We'll probably end up talking about this next week too.
I gotta.
So we had fun. Wind, you're a little bit late. You want to do your outro?
I
don't think
I got some closing thought.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
What, Billy? Or was that Rifle?
Cypher.
Or was that Cypher?
Yeah.
Cypher.
No, I didn't know. Someone said about an outro, and I wanted to say something before we head out because I didn't know if anyone would let me say something that feels kind of scripted or whatever. I don't know, but real quick, whoever is actually, because I can't tell, whoever's actually uploading this to YouTube, please take that link I left in private chat and link it. I think if people look into the channel, they have more that they could really get into, right? Because we have people that speak at length about stuff. This dude really speaks to, masculinity and like decisions we have to make in the world and how people are doing right now. So I think that Andres Bull Hansen, again, I can't remember the full name, but Andres Bull Hansen, I left the link in private chat. I just, I'm glad that I actually caught you guys. I haven't checked my phone all day, and I saw a message from 7 hours ago. I'm like, fuck, is this still happening? Is this still? So I didn't know if you guys had started yet. I'm like, let's see if they're even here. I am surprised you guys were here at this time. So that was interesting. It was like it was meant to happen. Because again, I checked my phone. For
Well,
the
no,
first
I think you said. I think he sent you the link early.
Yeah, I know he does that, but I was surprised because it's the first time I checked my phone all day.
Yeah, I do
all day. So, and I see the link, and I was like, I hope these guys are here. I like these guys, you know. So
maybe it was
I'm
the
glad
Force.
to see you. Nice to see you.
You too, man. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Like I said, you breath of fresh air coming in with the candid camera yelling at all the.
He was
people.
high energy.
Can't take it. He was very high energy
when
yeah.
he came in here. I tell you,
high gay energy. It's
Yeah,
very, it's very powerful.
I will say on that topic of yelling at children, I will say children because there is no serious adult out there that isn't doing this as a grift that takes the shit seriously. There is not a serious adult. Listen to me! There is not a serious fucking adult that is that pathetic that isn't doing this for a fucking grift. You kids are being taken for a goddamn ride. All you black pilling losers out there, listen, you don't contribute to shit because you were born to die pathetic, okay? Secondly, if you were worth the time, you would probably not be single. I can guarantee that you're not. If you aren't single, it's probably because you're with another pathetic soul like yourself, okay? If you want at any point to be able to face adversity and be able to live in this world unfeathered on your own fucking terms, you're not going to retire. You're not going to retire to being as pathetic as you are now and staying that way. You will either grow or you will fucking rot. It's one or the other. Make up your fucking mind. We're tired of dealing with you.
it's a hell of an outro right there.
It was great.
I'm serious.
Great.
In other words, what Tika would say, you're a waste of skin, you're a waste of breath.
Make something of yourself. Do it. Don't fuck with me.
Before I robot out again, I want to say this as a closing statement. The reason the Vikings were so successful is because they ate together. A family or a tribe that eats together stays together.
Yeah.
Also very good.
And
good outro.
And one of the reasons why, if somebody's coming to pick me up and they're married and they're having dinner, I'll tell them to eat dinner first with their wife and children before picking me up, because the importance of eating with your family will instill values in the future generation.
True.
It's a red pill in the wind. Like I said, probably going to robot out.
My closing thoughts, yeah, I guess just be good to yourselves and be like aware of just, I guess, what's going on in your communities. Don't let anyone fool you. And yeah, like Cypher said, just constantly better yourself, and then nothing can stop you.
So it's the only thing you can do right in this world that doesn't cost money is to improve yourself. Okay, and
well, sometimes it does cost money, depending on what you do.
For all those people out there who have no guidance, heed my words. You will not improve if you compare yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to anything but your shadow from the previous day. You achieve nothing by putting yourself in the same picture as someone who is much taller than you. You cannot aspire to be better if you aspire to be a carbon copy of something that you are not and will never be. Okay, if you want to compare yourself to anything for the purpose of getting better, you compare yourself to your fucking shadow from the previous day. If you don't compare yourself to your shadow from the previous day, then you're not following anyone's footsteps, not your own. No one wants you following them anyway. You probably smell like shit. Okay, real talk, straight up. If you want to better yourself, and it doesn't cost money. Okay, if you want to better yourself, all you gotta do is keep from having idols. Okay, take into consideration there are people out there that are a good example, but don't make them like the thing that you need to be at the end of the day, or you're incomplete, right? Because you're never going to be that. If you could ever be that, you would probably be in a better position than you are, and you probably know better too. But straight up, like, if you want to improve yourself, it doesn't cost money. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't worship other people. Don't even worship the idea of their success, because the idea of their success comes at their hard work. You can't afford to be an admirer because you're a nothing. Okay? People who just admire, either they're working towards something or they ain't. At the same time, if people need this advice, if they don't have any sense of leadership in their life, then they're not going to know how to even come close to achieving that kind of success. So them at any point in their life, it doesn't matter. Even if they're on their deathbed, they can't compare themselves to other people because now they are not good examples because everyone's life is different. At the same time, if you just compare yourself to other people, you cannot work on yourself. It's like watching MTV Cribs or reading tabloids. Meanwhile, you have 3 kids in the other room that you need to pay attention to, but don't because you're too busy with MTV Cribs. Get your focus together.
That was my outro right there. I'll let what's his name do my outro. That was, yeah, Cypher did my outro for me.
That was a very good black pill you just gave everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, for being black pill, there's very few black pills that are actually given out in that area. So they kind of have to get there. Like I said, they have to get it through the Underground Railroad, the Silk Road, the Cypher Silk Road. So if you guys like that, be sure to tune in next week. Everybody did their outros here, and yeah.
Infamous Rifle didn't do his outro, and Billy didn't do his outro.
Shit.
That's okay. I'm happy with Cypher's outro. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Me too. I'm happy with that one too.
I don't need an outro after that one.
As for Cypher, you guys all be good to yourselves and improve yourselves, and we're going to get out of here. And look who just showed up. We're at the last minute. But yeah, that's a good note to end on. Yeah, bye everyone. You guys take care.
Nice to see y'all.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah!
Perfections, ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke Boy, ooh, we run the city, homie tryna keep up, ooh, they going broke, I'll finish your career, ooh, get a rope,
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money, ooh,
That Montega
in the spot, getting guap, ooh,
That's hard labor.
in the club, popping bottles,
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
handful of real niggas,
Rest of these niggas cowards.
how you want it,
How you want it?
hands gun or the knife,
Soon as your man see the barrel,
he gon' run for his life,
bullets flying.
bullets flying.
It's flying. See ya.
Yeah, that was interesting.